Well, good evening, folks, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Whitfield Report, broadcasting live here from South Florida. And I want to thank you so much for joining me here tonight, or whenever you're listening to this in the past, present, future hour. If you're watching this on the replay or listening to this on the audio podcast, whichever you're doing, I greatly appreciate it. Contact info as usual. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SamW_NGC, hashtag Whitfield Report, hashtag Sam's Savages. You can also follow me on Gab and Minds at Sam Whitfield, Facebook.com/Whitfield Report, thesamwhitfield.com is my web site. And as always, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave the podcast a 5-star rating and review. Although, I don't know if ratings and reviews are actually a thing on Spotify. I know they are on Apple Podcasts. So if you're over there, please leave the show a good rating, and of course, if you're on YouTube, please hit the like button and, sub and all that. Alright, folks, so this is the first live stream of the year, actually, the first live show, so, Happy New Year to the chat, Happy New Year to those of you who are watching and lurking, who aren't in the chat yet. So glad you're here. Topics for tonight. We have a lot on the docket, actually. First off, I want to kind of cover Iran and give some of my opinions on Iran, which likely folks will somewhat... No one is going to agree with me on Iran completely, because my whole take on the situation is a wait-and-see approach, and I'll explain that in just a sec. I want to go over Ricky Gervais's Golden Globe speech. I know that was from a week ago, but still I think it's worth mentioning. And then breaking news yesterday, last night, I tweeted about this a bit. Neil Peart, who is one of my all-time favorite musicians and drummers, passed away. And obviously, you long-time listeners of the show know that I'm a big Neil Peart fan and a huge fan of Neil Peart. So we have that on the docket, and then we will be joined later in the program by Mr. Apex Gamma for the co-host segment. So anyway, we have a lot to get to. So again, thanks for tuning in, and let's get started, shall we? Okay. So in regards to Iran, I want to start off by saying that let's just get the main point out of the way. No, folks, World War III is not going to happen. You're not going to get drafted. It's not the end of the world as we know it. To be honest, shit in the Middle East has always been chaotic. And Iran hasn't necessarily been our friend, like, ever, just to put it plainly. So it was inevitable that something was going to happen. I believe President Trump fully when he says that Soleimani was planning on something. He has no reason to lie about that. And I know that there's going to be a certain percentage of people that cry Zionism, that this was an Israeli Zionist thing. No, there's no substantial evidence to suggest that. And I mean, at this point, I would rather take I would rather take Israel over Iran. Let me just say that too. Now, I will also say this: I am not a neocon by any stretch of the imagination. I used to be more of a neocon when I was younger, but as I've matured, and not even that, as I've met wounded veterans over the past couple of years, and I've had the privilege of meeting a few wounded veterans who have impacted my life in a very significant way, I've become weary of of endless foreign wars and whatnot. So I don't like the idea of us going to war with Iran. But I don't necessarily like the idea of scumbags like Soleimani existing out there either. And like I said, the fact that Trump was saying that he was planning attacks against the U.S., I have no reason to doubt Trump. Think about it, folks. There are probably hundreds of threats per year made against this country that we don't even hear about, that the intelligence apparatus does hear about. Case in point, I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast with Michael Mellis the other day, and Michael Mellis was actually explaining to Joe Rogan that about like 10 years ago, Michael Mellis found out about supposedly there was a nail bomb attack that was being planned for Grand Central in New York City, that he found out about from a friend who was in intelligence. Now, the NYPD had thwarted that attack, and the public obviously never heard about it. Michael Mellis did, but to kind of illustrate his point, the point was that there are attacks that are planned and orchestrated against this country every day that get thwarted, that we might not ever hear about. So by that logic, if Soleimani was in fact planning attacks, then Trump did good by taking him out, I think. And the other thing too is, this isn't the first time we've heard fears about World War III. Do you remember when, if any of you guys remember a few years ago, there were fears that World War III was going to start because Trump struck an airfield in Syria against Bashar al-Assad. Now, in terms of the Assad regime and whatnot, that whole thing was led by Bolton, and that seemed more like an interventionist case, which I'm not necessarily in favor of intervention. That was when intelligence agencies were, claiming that Assad was using nerve gas against his own people, and there was no substantial evidence to suggest that. So at that point, that seemed to be more of an interventionist thing, and the warmongers were trying to get Trump to attack Syria, and Trump didn't, and ended up getting rid of Bolton. This seem to be more of a preventative attack, of a preventative measure against an attack on America potentially. So Trump did what he had to do. And so that's kind of how I am looking at this whole thing. I'm not worried about it yet, and we don't even know for a fact that anything is going to happen with Iran. If we go to war for sure, then yeah, obviously I'll have a lot more to say about it then. But at this point in time, I'm really not that worried about us going to war. It hasn't kept me up at night. I'm not. I'm not really scared that it's going to happen intimately until things actually become concrete. Although I will admit some of the World War III memes on Reddit have been particularly hilarious to watch. At any rate, I do want to watch President Trump's press conference that he made after Iran, I guess, counterattacked us, or attempted to counterattack us, and I will scroll through the chat while the video is playing, and if there are any comments that I think need to be read, we will do that. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I will put this up on the screen for you guys. It's not up there right now, but if you would like to donate / super chat me, you can do that by going to streamlabs.com / the Whitfield Report, and you can donate there, and I will read your super chat. I'm gonna have to do it from my phone because I don't have OBS, but you can donate by going to streamlabs.com / Whitfield Report, or paypal.me / Whitfield Pod if you'd like to super chat me. Either of those methods would be greatly appreciated. And without further ado, I'm going to play this segment of Trump's speech on Iran, and let's roll the tape. Okay, that was weird. I don't know what happened. The stream died, apparently. I don't know what happened. But anyway, here's the clip of Trump's speech. So, yeah.
And here we have President of the United States to address the nation and the world.
As long as I'm President of the United States, Iran will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Good morning. I'm pleased to inform you the American people should be extremely grateful and happy. No Americans were harmed in last night's attack by the Iranian regime. We suffered no casualties. All of our soldiers are safe, and only minimal damage was sustained at our military bases. Our great American forces are prepared for anything. Iran appears to be standing down, which is a good thing for all parties concerned and a very good thing for the world. No American or Iraqi lives were lost because of the precautions taken, the dispersal of forces, and an early warning system that worked very well. I salute the incredible skill and courage of America's men and women in uniform. For far too long, all the way back to 1979 to be exact, nations have tolerated Iran's destructive and destabilizing behavior in the Middle East and beyond. Those days are over. Iran has been the leading sponsor of terrorism and their pursuit of nuclear weapons threatens the civilized world. We will never let that happen. Last week, we took decisive action to stop a ruthless terrorist from threatening American lives. At my direction, the United States military eliminated the world's top terrorist, Qasem Soleimani. As the head of the Quds Force, Soleimani was personally responsible for some of the absolutely worst atrocities. He trained terrorist armies, including Hezbollah, launching terrorist strikes against civilian targets. He fueled bloody civil wars all across the region. He viciously wounded and murdered thousands of U.S. troops, including the planting of roadside bombs that maim and dismember their victims. Soleimani directed the recent attacks on U.S. personnel in Iraq that badly wounded 4 service members and killed 1 American, and he orchestrated the violent assault on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. In recent days, he was planning new attacks on American targets, but we stopped him. Soleimani's hands were drenched in both American and Iranian blood. He should have been terminated long ago. By removing Soleimani, we have sent a powerful message to terrorists. If you value your own life, you will not threaten the lives of our people. As we continue to evaluate options in response to Iranian aggression, the United States will immediately impose additional punishing economic sanctions on the Iranian regime. These powerful sanctions will remain until Iran changes its behavior. In recent months alone, Iran has seized ships in international waters, fired an unprovoked strike on Saudi Arabia, and shot down 2 U.S. drones. Iran's hostilities substantially increased after the foolish Iran nuclear deal was signed in 2013, and they were given $150 billion, not to mention $1.8 billion in cash. Instead of saying thank you to the United States, they chanted death to America. In fact, they chanted death to America the day the agreement was signed. Then Iran went on a terror spree, funded by the money from the deal, and created hell in Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, Afghanistan, and Iraq. The missiles fired last night at us and our allies were paid for with the funds made available by the last administration. The regime also greatly tightened the reins on their own country, even recently killing 1,500 people at the many protests that are taking place all throughout Iran. The very defective JCPOA expires shortly anyway and gives Iran a clear and quick path to nuclear breakout. Iran must abandon its nuclear ambitions and end its support for terrorism. The time has come for the United Kingdom, Germany, France, Russia, and China to recognize this reality. They must now break away from the remnants of the Iran deal, or JCPOA. And we must all work.
So far, I'm not hearing anything wrong with what Trump is, saying here. Now, I will say this. Pence was reportedly saying that Soleimani was, partially responsible for 9/11, and that is incorrect. That's Saudi Arabia. And, look, why we're allied with Saudi Arabia, I have obviously I know why we're allied. It's because of oil. We shouldn't be allied with Saudi Arabia. That's something that, I think is stupid, and I think every American thinks is stupid that we're still allied with Saudi Arabia. But, so far, everything that Trump is saying about Iran is, pretty on the money. So.
Together toward making a deal with Iran that makes the world a safer and more peaceful place. We must also make a deal that allows Iran to thrive and prosper and take advantage of its enormous untapped potential. Iran can be a great country. Peace and stability cannot prevail in the Middle East as long as Iran continues to foment violence, unrest, hatred, and war. The civilized world must send a clear and unified message to the Iranian regime. Your campaign of terror, murder, mayhem will not be tolerated any longer. It will not be allowed to go forward. Today, I am going to ask NATO to become much more involved in the Middle East process. Over the last 3 years, under my leadership, our economy is stronger than ever before, and America has achieved energy independence. These historic accomplishments change our strategic priorities. These are accomplishments that nobody thought were possible. And options in the Middle East became available. We are now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas anywhere in the world. We are independent, and we do not need Middle East oil. The American military has been completely rebuilt under my administration at a cost of $2.5 trillion. U.S. armed forces are stronger than ever before. Our missiles are big, powerful, accurate, lethal, and fast. Under construction are many hypersonic missiles. The fact that we have this great military and equipment, however, does not mean we have to use it. We do not want to use it. American strength, both military and economic.
Okay, now that is another criticism I have of Trump. See, I'm not completely, but if I were Trump, I would not be advertising the fact we have all new, shit as far as missiles and whatnot. I would keep all that stuff on the down low, and then if they, tried to mess with us, then they would find out the hard way that we have all this new technology. There's no reason why we should be advertising what our arsenal is. Let them think our arsenal is outdated. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, so it brings up a good point. Europe is within reach of Iran, and yeah. I mean, look, like I said at the beginning of the program, and I'm not sure if you heard. I mean, Iran is not, friendly at all. So I'm not sure why people are acting like, Trump is the big bad here. So. But the whole point of advertising is so they're aware and don't fuck with us. Therefore, we don't have to use it. Yeah, that's a good point, Apex. So, oh shit, is Nachito here? Is my favorite listener from across the border here? Welcome, Nacho. Feliz Navidad, I guess. Sorry, that's pretty much the only Spanish you'll get out of me. So.
Is the best deterrent. 3 months ago, after destroying 100% of ISIS and its territorial caliphate, we killed the savage leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, who was responsible for so much death, including the mass beheadings of Christians.
More like Al Small Daddy or or oh no, daddy. Am I right? Am I right? Sorry, folks. I'm bad at jokes. I'm not as bad as Owen Benjamin Ben is, though. At least I'm not laughing. At least I'm not laughing and wheezing at my own jokes. So.
Muslims and all who stood in his way. He was a monster. Al-Baghdadi was trying again to rebuild the ISIS caliphate and failed. Tens of thousands of ISIS fighters have been killed or captured during my administration. ISIS is a natural enemy of Iran. The destruction of ISIS is good for Iran, and we should work together on this and other shared priorities. Finally, to the people and leaders of Iran, we want you to have a future, and a great future, one that you deserve, one of prosperity at home and harmony with the nations of the world. The United States is ready to embrace peace with all who seek it. I want to thank you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
And that is the response that the world was waiting to hear from the President of the United States.
And its support for terrorism.
Yeah. CNN, I'm not interested. So, my Apex game in the chat goes, my favorite hooker's pimp's name is Big Daddy. That's actually a good one, Apex. Whoa! Do we have? He actually changed his name to L Diddy. Whoa! We have the legend Johnny Arcade, in the chat, who is crushing just by the fact that he's here. So congrats, Johnny. You're crushing. We just played that clip of Trump's speech on Iran. Now, listen, Cheeto is here. Now, the day after Soleimani was hit and taken out, I came across this interesting article from, of all places, CNBC. It was an opinion column, but still, it was surprising to see someone from CNBC actually praising the U.S. military for taking Trump out. Or no, taking not taking Trump out, taking Soleimani out. No. CNN would praise someone for taking Trump out, though, but no. CNBC was actually praising Trump for taking Soleimani out. So, fuck off, pop-ups. So, alright, so here is the article from CNBC. And, okay. Alright. Op-ed. And I'm reading this for those listening to the podcast, so obviously if you're watching this, you can read along or do whatever. Anyway, let's see here. Oh, it did show up. I thought it'd give me a notification that it wasn't. Anyway. America just took out a man many consider the world's #1 bad guy. This is by some guy named Jake Novak. Okay. The killing of Iranian General Qassem Soleimani doesn't have the emotional power of the takedown of Osama bin Laden, but taking him out means more in terms of saving current lives, writes opinion columnist Jake Novak. Okay, so let's go down. So just who is this top Iranian general the U.S. just eliminated? For many of us who watch and analyze news out of the Middle East daily, he was the world's #1 bad guy. Qassem Soleimani has been in control of Iran's Quds forces for more than 20 years. His current greatest hits include helping Bashar al-Assad slaughter hundreds of thousands of his own people in the Syrian civil war. Again, that may not happen. Hello to Lissa, the queen of the internet as well. Anyway, stoking the House in Yemen's civil war and overseeing the killing of hundreds of Iraqi protesters, recently demonstrating against Iranian influence in their country. But most importantly for Americans, Soleimani was behind the deaths of hundreds of American soldiers during the Iraq War. Last year, the U.S. State Department put the number of Americans killed by Iranian proxies in Iraq at least 608 since 2003. The killing of Soleimani doesn't have the emotional power of the takedown of Osama bin Laden, and he wasn't even well known to Americans as ISIS founder Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, but in many ways taking him out means much more in terms of saving current lives. Remember that bin Laden and al-Baghdadi were mostly out of business and in hiding at the time of their deaths. Soleimani was busier than ever, directing mayhem all over the Middle East and beyond. He kind of looks like the Sean Connery character from The Hunt for Red October. Now I'm realizing, if you guys see that photo. Okay. For example, these last few days have made it clear to the whole world just how much Iran controlled just about all Iraq and Iraq's Shia population. It appears Soleimani not only felt justified in being the likely mastermind behind Tuesday's attack on the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, but was also comfortable enough to travel to Iraq to personally oversee it. But this time, he got too comfortable. We're already hearing from a number of critics that this move will likely backfire against the U.S. and will provoke Iran to retaliate even more forcibly against America and its allies. I think that's a typo. To those people making those warnings, there's only one thing to say. Welcome to the party, pal! And I mean, I guess since this was written out, shortly after Christmas, it makes sense that, that the columnist would be using diehard quotes, but whatever, boomer. That's because Iran has really been at war with the U.S. since 1979. the killing of hundreds of troops in Iraq, the constant terrorism it sponsors and supplies against Israel, and even the recent provocations against oil tariffs in the Persian Gulf are all acts of war from which there's really no retreat without severe consequences. There are lots of typos in this article, actually. For the Trump administration, it would appear that the embassy attack was the last straw. It was also one that provided the ultimate opportunity to eliminate Soleimani, as he foolishly left his home country and made himself more physically and legally vulnerable. Another thing to remember is that Soleimani and his foreign escapades may have been the delight of the ruling mullahs in Tehran, but the people in the streets abandoned him long ago, if they ever really supported him in the first place. Soleimani clearly came to personify the increasingly unpopular spending on proxy wars and terrorism. With Iran's economy faltering, the chanting in the streets during the nation's protests included "No money, no gas, screw Palestine." This was probably the best proof that the Iranian people are keenly aware of the resources being sent abroad that could be used to improve the domestic economy and not pay for rockets in Gaza or wars in Syria and Yemen. That is the one part that I am a little skeptic about, though, because I mean, if you're protesting in Iran, isn't that like don't people pretty much disappear for that type of thing? That's the only thing that you know that doesn't make sense. And yeah, so what I agree. I don't want more war in the Middle East either. But what I'm saying is I don't think that taking out Soleimani is necessarily going to lead to war in the Middle East. We're not necessarily at that point yet, so let's not count those hens before they hatch, or those chickens, whatever the saying is. Okay. In fact, Iranian journalist and activist Maja, some name I can't pronounce, tweeted almost immediately after Soleimani's death was reported by the Quds commander, was also aided by ordinary Iranians for the brutality against his own people. This included a bloody crackdown on university students in Iran in the 1990s. Yeah, Johnny's right. War has already been canceled. In the coming hours and days, the debate over the decision to kill Soleimani will ultimately be dominated by partisan politicians looking to score points for or against President Trump. Perhaps Senator Chris Murphy, a Democrat from Connecticut, has taken top partisanship buffoonery prize, already scolding President Trump for the action just 2 days after publicly decrying America's lack of action against the attack in the Baghdad embassy. Well, that's not as bad though as what's her face, the Minnesota senator, what's her face, ladies and gentlemen, who was saying stuff like oh, Trump did this to avoid impeachment or whatever. Okay. But that's just politics. It will also be just politics when President Trump takes a victory lap on Twitter or at a future rally over this killing. That I do agree with. What isn't just politics is the fact that Soleimani was a very effective and deadly leader of the world's most active and pervasive terrorist army. The knee-jerk assumptions we will hear from those who say that someone else will be taking his, place just as deadly and effective. Well, I mean, we've already heard, hysteria from pretty much the entire internet that World War III, was going to happen. Even though it's not going to happen. World War III has been canceled, so we don't have to worry about that. Anyway, a pretty good piece. Like I said, this was published like a day after the, this was published a day after the, attack happened. So I will actually post the link to this article if you guys want it in the live chat, and then I will also link this article in the show notes for those of you guys watching and or listening. So that's that. Let's see. Yeah. Alright, so now, folks, let's move on to something a little more whimsical, for right now. Storm of Wrench is coming in with the good, comments. I've just got to put this up. World War IV, the search for 3. I can always count on a storm of wrenches to make me laugh. Alright, so Ricky Gervais obviously killed it the other night at the speaking of deadly attacks, I know this joke hasn't been made, but I'll make it again. I hope Ricky Gervais had congressional authority before he went in and butchered all of Hollywood at the Golden Globes the other week. So I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but I do want to go through and look at some of the good moments here, and since I'm not really being monetized yet, I don't think this will get taken down because it's been kind of all over the internet now for a couple of days, but this is still pretty funny to watch.
Hello and welcome to the 77th Annual Golden Globe Awards, live from the Beverly Hilton Hotel here in...
And before we start this, I also just have to say that I actually recently picked up the digital box set of the original Office from the UK. Never seen it before, but I'm gonna watch it. Also, Johnny brings up a good point in regards to World War III. For World War, you made major alliances to form and go after each other. Just won't happen. I mean, yeah, Johnny, if anything, here's the bottom line with, with the whole World War III. If anything, we're not going to be in World War III with, Iran. We're going to be in another, if anything, we're going to be in another Cold War when it comes to Iran. That's what's going to happen. This isn't going to turn into World War III. This is going to turn into Cold War number 2, if anything. But I doubt even that will happen. So, anyway, so let's get on with Ricky Gervais's monologue here.
Angeles. I'm Ricky Gervais. Thank you. You'll be pleased to know this is the last time I'm hosting these awards, so I don't care anymore. I'm joking. I never did. NBC clearly don't care either. Fifth time. So, I mean, Kevin Hart was fired from the Oscars because of some offensive tweets. Hello? Lucky for me, the Hollywood foreign press can barely speak English, and they've no idea what
What a racist joke he just made there.
So I got offered this gig by fax. So let's go out with a bang. Let's have a laugh at your expense, shall we? Remember, they're just jokes. We're all going to die soon, and there's no sequel. So, yeah, remember that. But you all look lovely, all dolled up. You came here in your limos. I came here in a limo tonight, and the licence plate was made by Felicity Huffman. So, no, shush. It's her daughter I feel sorry for, okay? That must be the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to her. And her dad was in Wild Hogs. So, lots of big celebrities here tonight. I mean, legends, icons, yeah? Look, at this table alone, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. But Baby Yoda. Oh, that's Joe Pesci, sorry. I love you, man. Don't have me whacked.
The bombs are about to drop here. We're not quite at prime joke level yet, but we're about to get to the good stuff here. And yeah. So it says I hate Tom Hanks. I mean, yeah, I used to like Tom Hanks as an actor, but now he's just kind of, he's been in so much that it's kind of gotten, you know, he's not even as good as he used to be. De Niro I don't like either, obviously because of politics, but the man still can act. I gotta give him credit for that. So.
But tonight isn't just about the people in front of the camera. In this room are some of the most important TV and film executives in the world. People from every background, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow. He's coming for you.
True.
He's coming for you. Look, talking of all you perverts, it was a big year. It was a big year for paedophile movies. Surviving R. Kelly, Leaving Neverland, Two Popes. Shut up. Shut up. I don't care.
Steven Spielberg looking nervous there. Now look, I mean, there have certainly been theories that, you know, Spielberg, you know, has been a pedophile. I mean, but they're largely unfounded. To be honest, Owen Benjamin kind of ruined that, you know, one for me, just because Owen mentioned it. So, you know, anything that Owen says must automatically be bullshit. That's kind of my, you know, that's kind of my way of measuring things. If Owen said it, it's not true.
Many talented people of colour were snubbed in major categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood foreign press are all very, very racist. So, fifth time.
Not a lie either.
We were going to do an in memoriam this year, but when I saw the list of people that had died, it wasn't diverse enough. No. It was mostly white people. And I thought, nah, not on my watch. So, maybe next year. Let's see what happens. No one cares about movies anymore. No one goes to the cinema. No one really watches network TV. Everyone's watching Netflix. This show should just be me coming out going, well done Netflix, you win everything. Good night. But no, we got to drag it out for 3 hours. You could binge watch the entire first season of Afterlife instead of watching this show. That's a show about a man who wants to kill himself because his wife dies of cancer, and it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way, so in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself. Just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
Best joke of the evening by far. And what's even better, folks, is the memes that, came later. In fact, I'll try and find some of those, but some of them are pretty hilarious. Something along the lines of Ricky Gervais didn't kill himself. It was like, let's get ahead of this. So, and Adam Driver there, I mean, yeah, Star Wars sucked, but I mean, Adam Driver is like, Adam Driver and Keanu Reeves are pretty much the only like good guys in Hollywood right now. I like them both. They seem like normal dudes compared to the rest of the industry. Yep, crime level 10. I love that we're just counting the primeness levels of Ricky Gervais here. They just keep increasing.
You had to make your own way here in your own plane, didn't you? Right, but seriously, most films are awful, lazy, remakes, sequels. I've heard a rumour that there might be a sequel to Sophie's Choice. I mean, that'd just be Meryl Streep going, well, it's got to be this one then. All the best actors have jumped to Netflix and HBO, and the actors who just do Hollywood movies now do fantasy adventure nonsense. They wear masks and capes and really tight costumes. Their job isn't acting anymore. It's going to the gym twice a day and taking steroids, really. Have we got an award for most ripped junk?
Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Paging Dwayne Johnson.
No point. We know he'd win that. Martin Scorsese, the greatest living director, made the news for his controversial comments about the Marvel franchise. He said they're not real cinema and they remind him of theme parks. I agree. Although I don't know what he's doing hanging around theme parks. He's not big enough to go on the rides, is he? It's tiny. Well, it's got to be this one then.
Oh, shit.
Their job isn't acting anymore. It's going to the gym twice a day and taking steroids, really. Have we got an award for most ripped junkie? No point. We know he'd win that. Martin Scorsese, the greatest living director, made the news for his controversial comments about the Marvel franchise. He said they're not real cinema and they remind him of theme parks. I agree. Although I don't know what he's doing hanging around theme parks. He's not big enough to go on the rides, is he? It's tiny.
And I gotta give Marty Scorsese credit there. He actually seemed to take that joke in stride pretty well. So, and from what I've heard from some of the people I actually know in the industry, I don't know many, but I know a few, Scorsese is massively egotistical. So, good. He took that joke on the chin pretty well.
Right. The Irishman was amazing. It was amazing. It was. It was great.
You can actually hear my review of The Irishman and several other films on the audio podcast as well. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcasts from.
Long, but amazing. It wasn't the only epic movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, nearly 3 hours long. Leonardo DiCaprio attended the premiere, and by the end, his date was too old for him. So... even Prince Andrew's like, come on, Leo, mate, you're nearly 50, son. The world got to see James Corden as a fat pussy.
Okay, this bit was
He
good
was also
too.
in the movie Cats, but no one saw that. And the reviews, oh, shocking. I saw one that said, this is the worst thing to happen to cats since dogs, right? But Dame Judi Dench defended the film, saying it was the role she was born to play, because she... I can't do this next joke. Because she loves nothing better than plonking herself down on the carpet, lifting her leg, and licking her
own cunt.
Verbal. She's old school.
No, YouTube administrator, that's not Prime level 12. That's like Prime level 15.
Last time, who cares? Oh.
It's my last time, who cares? Yeah, I mean, Ricky Gervais doesn't really give a fuck, which is what I love.
Apple roared into the TV game with a morning show. A superb drama, yeah. A superb drama about the importance of dignity and doing the right thing, made by a company that runs sweatshops in China. So, well, you say you...
Even though the entire tech industry, not just Apple, but the entire tech industry basically manufactures everything in China. It's true.
But the companies you work for, I mean, unbelievable. Apple, Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent, wouldn't you? So, if you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little...
Which is actually true for a lot of these Hollywood celebrities getting the awards. So, yeah.
Thank your agent and your God. And so, it's already 3 hours long. Right, let's do the first award. The first award is for Best Actor in a Television Series.
Okay, so, that was the end of the... He did, like, another, one at the end, I guess, about Harvey Weinstein. I couldn't find the clip for that because, I'm sure YouTube is, like... I'm sure someone in Hollywood is, like, trying to frantically delete, copies of, of the Weinstein bit, but that was good, and I know that like some conservative commentators were like being like, Ricky Gervais is one of us now, but no, Ricky Gervais has made fun of Republicans and conservatives for years and years and years. This is nothing new. He roasts everyone equally. I will say this though. I have to pull this up. Do I? No, never mind. But I guess Vox Day made a. Teddy Spaghetti. Let's just call him by his true name. Teddy Spaghetti made the absurd remark that, like, I guess, he's convinced that Ricky Gervais is going to be joining him on Unauthorized now because, he went against the establishment, and so obviously, he'll be on Unauthorized. I'll pull this up. Let's see. Holy. Uh, yeah, I'm not gonna scroll through Vox's blog here. It's painful to. Ugh. Uh, oh my God, this is. Yeah, I'm going to spare you guys from even like looking at what I think would. I think at this point it would be safer for me to play hardcore porn on the stream than to show Vox's website. Oh, never mind. I found it. This was painful. Okay. So. Let's see. The tide she is turning. If Gervais keeps this up, he will be unauthorized within 18 months. Let's see. And, yeah, I mean, yeah. So, Ricky Gervais is going to be on unauthorized, and, Owen is going to be on, Owen is watched by Tucker Carlson. Let's see. And yeah. And I love all this stuff like, oh, they're setting Ricky Gervais up to be a new gatekeeper. No, you morons. Ricky Gervais, okay. Okay, that's enough. I don't want my computer to get a virus. So let's see. In sad news tonight, Neil Peart, the drummer of Rush, passed away, and also a phenomenal lyricist. There's not much. I don't want to get too much into this, and I don't want to wax product too much. But I mean, look, I discovered Rush when I was 15 years old. Back when I was a freshman in high school, one of my I wouldn't say my first girlfriend, but I think probably my second girlfriend in high school that I had. She actually also had an affinity for Rush. So I had some good memories there involving the band Rush, and then, Rush helped me through, a couple breakups too. And when I first moved here to Florida about 6 years ago, I took a gap year in between high school and college, and I spent pretty much a year, pretty much the entire going through Rush's entire discography, because I'm a nerd like that. And what's funny is, when I first joined Owen Benjamin's Discord, which would later become pretty much all of Owen's ex-bears, the funny thing of it is like, pretty much a lot of the people who I bonded with, who ended up leaving with us, after we exited the Bears, were also Rush fans. And I actually, a few of them who I haven't talked to in a long time, actually reached out to me yesterday. Shout out to you, Meritocracy. and wanted to chat a bit about Neil Peart last night, so we did. Let's see. So before we bring on Apex Gamma, I do kind of want to end the show, with a little bit of whimsy tonight, in honor of Neil Peart. I want to go ahead and play this clip I've found. I actually found it a few years ago. It's a pretty great clip if you're into rock music. And this is a studio jam session with Stuart Copeland, Neil Peart, Danny Carey, and Matt Stone, who I guess is a drummer too, and they're all jamming in Stuart Copeland's home studio. And this was a clip from 2 years ago, but it's pretty cool. So while I'm playing that, we'll get everything set up to bring Apex on, and let's roll the tape. Rest in peace, Mr. Peart. You brought a lot of us many happy memories. So 07 to you, sir, wherever you are. This is called A Little More Noise at the Sacred Grove. I hope YouTube doesn't strike me for this. But if they do, hello, Mr. Copeland. I'm a big fan of your work. This actually is from Stuart Copeland's channel.
Can we make a little more noise? A little more noise. A little more noise. I haven't played these ones yet.
And, yeah, folks, that was, Neil Peart jamming with, Stuart Copeland, Danny Carey, and, Matt Stone, and a couple other studio, musicians there. Johnny Arcade. Oh, yeah, that's right. We've discussed this before. Johnny, hates Rush. Well, you're, I can't even ban you now because Owen has made banning people uncool too. But anyway, well, there are a lot more Rush fans out there that I know listen to this podcast. So if you're listening to this, I will have the video also posted in the description. So if you're a Rush fan and you want to watch this, it's definitely worth your time. Stuart Copeland, by the way, is not only is he a drummer, but he pretty much, as you saw there, you know, he plays guitar. He's one of these multi-instrumentalist guy. Pretty talented dude. Apex isn't going to be able to make it. I actually just got a message from him that something, in his personal life came up. So I guess that will do it for tonight's show then. We've pretty much covered everything else. So anyway, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, who tuned in live. Big shout out to Evil Eric, Johnny Arcade, So What, Rational H-Bomb, One Step Too Far, the YouTube Administrator, A Storm of Wrenches, Nachito, who joined us, the Queen of the Internet, Alyssa, Harry Henderson, let's see here, Apex, obviously, when he was here, and let's see, the Shady J, and let's see, the Spiral N was in here early in the chat as well, and Jacob Downey, and I think the Higher Shy was in there, and of course Bobby Lagauche and Alan Powell were both in the chat here tonight too. What a coincidence that was. They were both. See, they are two different people, as it turns out, folks. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. And from all of us here at NGC Studios, God bless, God save this great nation, God, freedom, legacy, in that order, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. Hey there, folks. If you've made it this far to the end of the podcast, I'd like to thank you very much for listening to the show. You are the ones that make it possible for me to make an income from podcasting, and I greatly appreciate that just by listening to our show. You are helping us gain ad revenue. However, if you would really like to help support the show, I encourage you to please donate to the podcast and become a supporter of the show. You can head over to anchor.fm/Whitfield Report and click the support this podcast button and choose the amount that suits you to support the show. Or you can click the link in the show notes and it will directly take you to that page. If you can support the podcast, I really, really appreciate that. Anything that you can do to help out is greatly appreciated. Even if you can't afford to help financially support the podcast, I encourage you to please go on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher and please leave this podcast a positive 5-star review. That really helps us out here at the Whitfield Report. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next episode.